It seems like a long time ago. Another trip. So you're a little busy.
Yeah, I've been pretty busy.
It seems like you're, a little popular, a few things going on. I'm actually not seeing you at the next junket because you're so busy doing something in New York. You're going to New York, I guess, on Thursday.
Yeah, we have an opening night for Call Me by Your Name.
I know your schedule all too well.
Oh my goodness.
Different
Sorry.
companies all know where you're going at any given
Lord.
time. But it looks like you may well be in 2 Best Picture movies.
Oh my goodness. Well,
It's kind of a theme year that way. I think there are 2 or 3 actors who have this phenomenon.
wow. That would be amazing. That would be really amazing.
Is all of that stuff exciting to you at this point, or?
Well, I love that people are hopefully going to see the film, and that just means perhaps a whole group of people will see it that may not have thought to do so. That's all, and I love that. And yeah, I just hope. Yeah, you hope for people to see what you make.
Mm. Well, you've now become Mr. Film. I mean, when this all started with you in movies, you kind of came out of theater,
Mm-hmm.
and you had a big reputation in theater, and then you had the Coens,
Right.
and now you've had this journey. Is film something you decided you wanted to commit to as opposed to theater, or are you still sneaking
Not at
in
all.
theater?
No,
or?
it's just sort of one of those things where I've had opportunities and I've made the best choices I could given the opportunities that were presented to me, and most of them have been in film and television. So that's just sort of the way things have gone. I've been looking to get back to do a play, but because of the scheduling of film and television, sometimes that hasn't been possible. So I'm hoping that changes.
Is the work very different?
It is very different. The preparation for the work isn't necessarily different, but the communication of it is. When you're playing in a 1,500-seat room, or if you're just, a couple of feet away from people, the conveying of what you do is a whole other craft. And the work in film and television has been wonderful in its simplicity, or at least the idea of its simplicity, as opposed to the joint energy in a room between an audience and a performer, and the play that happens in that energy that's all very, very different. But both are equally challenging, and both are fun.
Mm. So when you see a script, what is it that kind of draws you in, or are there things?
You never know what's going to draw you into something. I mean, I love to laugh like everybody. I love to be made to be challenged, to think. I'm always looking for challenges and something that I've never done before, something that I might be afraid of, and something bold. All of that stuff, I guess. You never know what's going to be thrown at you, and you don't know if you can do it. And part of that terror puts a fire underneath you to want to do whatever that is as well as possible.
So what is the terrifying thing about Call Me by Your Name?
That's a good question. The prospect of that particular job offered a lot of interesting things. The opportunity to collaborate with Luca, who I admired, having seen I Am Love, which just sort of blew me away. The idea to work with James Ivory, who I've adored his films for years. Shooting in northern Italy is a remarkable, wonderful thing. I love to travel with the work that I get to do. And in the role itself, playing a Latin and Greek scholar, someone who dabbles in archaeology and art history, all that stuff is, quite distant from my own past and my own experience. So to try to assimilate the knowledge or the information that was given to me, and to try to make it believable somewhat, and to practice Italian, and to have it hopefully roll off the cuff as easily as possible, as if it's second nature. Just trying to, take another person absorb it and hopefully surprise yourself in the storytelling.
So how deep do you get into his, what he knows about the world that you don't know in terms of?
Elio?
Yeah. No, you were.
Oh, in terms of, I'm sorry, how deep did I get?
In terms of just knowing about art or knowing about languages or knowing about.
Well, you start with what's given to you,
Right.
and I guess you work backwards and sort of say, who is this artist? What did they do? When did they work? The stuff I loved about the character's passion for his work was that he seemed to make it come alive and talk about these artists and these words as if, well, they're still a living, breathing thing, and that these people who made this art, he knew the motivations behind it. He knew why this person made this sculpture for his lover, or it made it very immediate and it made it very human. And that kind of stuff is kind of wonderful, because often I'm bored with antiquities personally, or can be, unless you perhaps learn something about the story and the people who are making them, or if the artistry itself is extraordinary and can sort of say, wow, look what somebody did. But those were things that I were drawn to.
And how much of that is in the script, and how much of it is your work that you're kind of doing also?
I think it's got to be a combination of both. I mean, all the things that I say are obviously taken from the novel and the script. And I had to, I guess, take that in and try to figure out who Sam, or I guess we were calling him Sam, Professor Perlman was, and see what he thought about those kinds of things. So it's all, I guess, revealed in the playing of it.
He seems kind of like the happiest person in the world.
Isn't that fun? Well, Lucas said something to all of us at the very beginning of this process, because if you read the book, or even if you read the script, there are places in it that could be taken as quite ponderous and quite, archaic, or so he wanted the spirit behind the storytelling to reflect love and light, and that perhaps this is one of those most idyllic summers that, if you're lucky in your youth, everyone gets, the world opens up to you somehow, or you fall in love for the first time. He wanted it to be full of love and light. So there was a consciousness on the playing of it that perhaps a scene that could be taken as quite dry, given the dialogue that was given, to lighten it up, and to perhaps, there was a lot of laughter in the doing of it, which I was completely surprised and kind of delighted by, because in an odd way, I'm a laugher myself. I feel like, at best, at least half of the time, I'm a lighthearted person. And I guess I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it in the playing of it. I thought that, you're talking about, Latin and Greek words, you're talking about, ancient artifacts, and, but what it did allow me was a joy that I didn't see coming, which I think was well suited to Luca's vision of this story.
Well, he's not for somebody who is so steeped in information and history and the details, he doesn't judge.
No.
Which is kind of the fascinating thing about the character, and why I think people love him so much.
No, he revels in the differences of the world, I think.
Yeah.
And all the delights that the world has to offer. We get very small glimpses of that in his relationship with his wife, with his son, and how he embraces, whether it's a new grad student, or a bottle of wine, or playing with children in the garden, or whatever. It all surprised me, which was lovely.
Do people think of you as somebody who laughs enough?
I don't know. People who know me well, or who've done plays with me, absolutely know that I'm a laugher.
But do you get offered? I mean, it seems like people see you. Maybe it's because of Serious Man, but there's an intensity that a lot of your roles seem to carry.
That's funny. Just trying not to laugh, probably, most of the time.
Well, I guess it's like, I keep on telling the story, but it's, now I can't remember everybody's name. The great Swedish actor, Max von Sydow, we talked one day, and he said, I said, well, what, after all these years, you're 80 whatever years old,
Right.
What haven't you done? And he says, nobody asked me to do comedy.
Oh.
He really wants to do comedy.
I'll do a comedy with him.
And apparently in the early days, he did comedy with Bergman, did stage comedies with him.
That doesn't
and
surprise me at all.
And that was the great joy.
Yeah.
And then he became this, Mr. Serious.
Portentous,
and,
yes.
Yeah. Carries a certain weight to the whole thing.
Sure. Isn't that funny? Well, I mean, I guess my stage work before I did all of the film and television opportunities that I've had was a real combination of Shakespeare's clowns or silly things or weighty things or I just love to shake it up. It's really nice to be challenged by style, the differences in style, and to utilize different parts of your spirit and different things.
Well, the physicality of you on stage was something we don't see a lot of you on film.
Not so much yet, but I'm hoping that maybe I'll get a chance to do something.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm just trying to suit the characters that I'm playing to what the story is. So maybe I just haven't had quite the opportunity to do so.
To get you in a pirate movie or something.
Yeah, sure.
Have some fun.
That'd be fun.
So, shaped a whole other experience. You got to
Yeah.
go to Toronto,
Right.
which I'm sure you've never been to before. But you got to hang out with Guillermo, so that's its own
Yeah.
experience. You could do the Guillermo movie. Was that just another great role that you could dig into? And I mean, do you do
Yeah.
research on a role like that, or
Absolutely. I mean, but actually, it was the very first time that a filmmaker created a biography for my character before I even started. Guillermo had each of us in mind, I guess, for these characters. But then he handed us several pages of a character biography, just ideas of things that may come in handy in the telling of the story, or perhaps might be a distraction, but he fell in love with the characters. So he gave us, what kinds of foods that they loved, the kind of, what led them to get to the place that we meet them at. All kinds of things that were very helpful as far as I was concerned. I loved it. So it gave me an opportunity to learn a little bit about who this guy was, where he came from, because he's kind of, you meet him as one thing and then he kind of becomes something else. But there were many challenges. The Russian speaking that I get to do, there's a diary that I hand my boss at one point, and Guillermo had asked me to make sketches of the creature. So the drawings that you see when the book is opened, those are my drawings. So yeah, he had me utilize parts of myself that I don't often get to utilize, which was nice.
And is it a character like that with it's slightly hyper real as opposed to something like Call Me, where?
Well, I mean, he really mixes genres in
Yeah.
his story. It combines Cold War mystique with a creature romance and a period picture, and so you try to honor the style in which you're creating something. It's a very different kind of metabolism than, let's say, Call Me by Your Name.
So you're watching noir movies as research as opposed to
No,
digging into the period, or
no. I think I watched some spy films, but honestly, most of the inspiration came directly from Guillermo, which was wonderful because he was the source from which this guy came, the wellspring, so to speak, which was remarkable. I mean, his fingerprints are in every aspect of that movie. It's very much his spirit.
Yeah.
And even getting to talk with him about it now, he still finds great pleasure in celebrating the story with people who are now just getting to see it.
Well, he and Luca seem to share that kind of joie de vivre, I guess, where
Absolutely,
there's a real
absolutely.
gusto to
Absolutely, yeah.
living,
Yeah.
which is exciting.
Celebrating, yeah, celebrating life and just laughing and a great wealth of knowledge in regards to the history of cinema as well, both of them.
Yeah. So it was for you. Is each director another experience? Is that part of the choice that you make when you decide to do something?
Honestly, it's very little. I have very little to do with the things that come my way. In both of these instances, they came to me. I'm not privy to a lot of information as to what is being made, because usually when I find out about something that's going to be made, it's a year before it's going to be made, and so
Right.
the process, it hasn't even been written yet. So I have very little to do with choosing something unless it's chosen me, sort of. So I just, a good opportunity is a good opportunity, so I've been lucky.
So you're not feeling like you're the chooser at this point yet.
Not yet. I mean, it's not as if I'm creating my own work,
Right.
which I hope to do, to write and to possibly direct. It scares the heck out of me, but there's that word again, scare. Why not? Jump in and make something. I love the creative process, and I've been really lucky to work with a lot of people who are so passionate about what they do, and that passion has rubbed off. It's inspiring, and it makes you want to get to the nitty gritty, and it's sort of in the part of, it down to the level of creating something, and not just interpreting or participating in someone else's vision of something. Yeah, if I'm lucky, maybe I'll get to do that.
When you were a kid,
Mm-hmm.
did you start out by? I mean, was it always acting first?
No. It's always it was art. It was I wanted to be a cartoonist. I wanted to make things, and I kind of found my way into community theater, a summer program for kids that my mom threw me into, and I just wanted to build the sets. But they didn't let you just build the sets. They made you audition and sing a song, and you get thrown in the chorus, and you get to build the sets too. So I kind of came in that way, and I still love to paint and draw and make art, but I don't do it as often as I used to. But I think the one thing that kind of swayed me into becoming an actor, or continues to sway me, was the communal aspect of it and the fun, and how I've learned that things don't really come to life unless you share them. Characters that you're portraying, I often, at least where I came into the work, was from a very visual perspective, and a teacher once wisely encouraged me to open myself up to interacting with the other actors. He said, you create this image of what you think something should be, but it doesn't come to life until you open yourself up to share that with someone else, and in the process you'll surprise yourself, and when you surprise yourself you'll surprise everybody else. And that's where I think some of the laughter comes from, is that sort of trepidatious feeling of, oh, okay, what is this going to be? What's going to happen? Throw yourself out there and see what we make together.
And did it click for you pretty quickly after that, or did you take
It's
a while?
still a mystery in some ways, because every job you tackle is new, and you never know what you're going to need, or how to fit yourself into somebody's vision of something, or whether your ideas are useful. It's always different, and I guess I that keeps me coming back to do it more and more, because.
So you feel a responsibility to do that.
Yeah, as much as possible.
You're
sure.
not just showing up to do your thing. And
No. I mean, for me, it's the mystery and the discovery and the play and the trying to give a filmmaker their vision, if they know what they want, providing options and the fun that can come out of creating something new and hopefully enjoyed.
So when did you make a commitment to yourself, at least, to the idea of being an actor?
I still haven't. I
You're still
haven't.
just wondering, and
In some ways, it's sort of one of those things that the opportunities that have come along have been so great that I've just kept going. Sometimes I become very dark and just sort of fear, well, what am I doing with my life? But I love that what I get to do is social, and I love that it pulls me out of my protective shell, and I love collaboration, and it's really enchanted my life in a way that it never would have had I trapped myself in a room behind an easel or with pen and paper for my entire adult life, as I did when I was a kid, when I just would hold myself up in my room and draw and paint.
so an introvert who feels good, who likes being an extrovert.
Well, it's sort of, I guess there's an extroverted part of my personality that gets tapped when I get to do this work. And I think that's something that surprised me when I started doing it, was when those lights are in your face on stage, you can't see the audience terribly well. So it kind of, in some ways, provides you a kind of protection. And they're there just to watch and listen, and you tell them a story. And there's something kind of wonderful when you can listen to them respond, and they seem to be enjoying themselves, hopefully.
Was there a point at which you said, I'm good at this? Or that I can make a living doing this? This is going to be my career?
It always seems to have been about the communal spirit to me. In some ways, kind of like religion, I guess, at best. As a religious experience, or I guess I would more qualify that as being a communal experience, where we all get together into a room, we tell a story together, everyone realizes for a short period of time that you're not alone, and that we all, regardless of what we look like, have commonalities, and that it brings people together. It was never a source of, I didn't go into it looking to make a lot of money. I went into it because it was fun, and because it seemed to make people happy. And if good, and I try to adhere to that. I do adhere to that because that's why I do it. I love it, and it's as hard as the business aspect of it can be, and as dark as it can get at times. It's still at its best when you get to do it. You can put all the other stuff away and you can just do it. I think that's what I loved about the theater for so long, was you can just put your life away for a while and play and hopefully make people laugh and think and feel, and which people don't necessarily take the time to do in their private lives.
So you're putting on the show in the barn, no matter how big the barn is. You're out there having that experience that kids have when they go play.
Well, there is an openness to playing, and there's a reason it's called play. That I love.
Well, Tilda has in Luca land.
Yeah.
Tilda has a very definitive philosophy about that. It's really that actors are 5-year-olds, or should be 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, and that's the experience. As long as you, whatever the character is, whatever it is, you're still a 5- and 6-year-old playing.
Sure.
And that joy is what the work is.
That's the source of it. Yes, and that it's a shame when that goes away periodically.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it will always still remain there for the people who are doing it. But life is hard sometimes, and people have agendas, and people need to eat and need a shelter, and there's a lot of things that become important in our lives, perhaps Less so when we're younger, but maybe more so when we get older.
Yeah.
I don't know, it depends on each individual, but yes, the source is play, and I love to hear that about her.
Well, I have that experience even sitting in the chair here. I mean, there are times where I am having a day where there's this happening or that happening in the world, and
Yeah.
then you sit down and you talk to somebody who cares about their work,
Right.
and it's like that's all that mattered for that
Isn't that
hour,
nice?
for that half
Isn't that
hour.
nice? It's like when
It's a
time
joy.
flies. Yeah, you just sort of, you can engage yourself in something.
Mhm.
And that's all really it's meant to do. Take us out of our lives, tell a story, learn something from it, maybe be moved by it. And how wonderful is that? That at the end of an hour or at the end of 2 hours or longer, we can become engaged and think about other things.
Yeah. Even bad theater, even bad
theater.
even bad movies. It's like there's the passion that somebody was putting into doing
Yeah,
it. Nobody
yeah.
goes to make a bad thing.
Well, or
You know.
yeah. I guess it's sort of what you can classify as bad. I guess because
Right.
you may think it's bad when someone's trying to be good, or maybe it was just an effort of fun.
Well, now we have disaster artists, so we can have a movie
Yeah.
about making a bad movie.
There you go.
By somebody who thought he was making the greatest movie ever made. So it all keeps on going around in circles.
Yeah.
Or at least you hope so. And does all this award stuff, because you're certainly on the track these days, as you have been before, is this a nice addition to the week, or is it something you concern yourself with much?
Oh my
or?
goodness, I long to make and to be a part of projects that move people. And if people respond to it, that's amazing. And if people celebrate it, that's exciting as well, because maybe more people will get a chance to see it then. So all this is kind of, it's crazy and can be overwhelming sometimes, but at best it represents a birthing of a creative process, I think, or a celebration of storytelling, which is nice. And there's, it's a shame that people can be pitted against each other during the process, because how do you compare things? It's really
Impossible.
it is impossible.
Yeah.
So a group of people make a decision about something, and we can celebrate it as a community, and then move on, and we make more.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as a part of the celebration process, I think it's lovely, and it can also be all-consuming for people, and it can be crazy making too, but I like to think of it as part of a celebration.
Well, do you have moments, the times where your ego rises and becomes as big as you? Or, I mean, is it actually, because it sounds like your whole mindset about all of it is this kind of shared, even not just shared within the group of the people you're working with, but, sharing with the audience, everybody else, the world, the work. But, it's one of the things about being an actor is that the spotlight's on you, the light's on you right now. But it doesn't sound like you see it that way, or, does it rear itself up every once in a while and you go, I should have more, or I should be this, or I should be that?
I don't know. I mean, ideally, I would love to have as many opportunities as anybody else would love to have.
But it's only about opportunity.
Yeah, to do more things and to sort of challenge myself. I want to continue to learn about the human condition, and it, for me, it's about having the opportunity to get to explore an interesting character. And if this work provides that, that's wonderful. I've had experiences in the past from which I've learned that it isn't about that. It isn't about celebrating oneself. It's about making things together. Now, albeit it can be very challenging, and sometimes people get frustrated, But I've been fortunate to have had remarkable artists close by to remind me that we're in this together. and that it takes a village to make what we're trying to do. And this art form, film and television, on-camera work, is really challenging and demands the hundreds of people to all do their best work together to make something special. Ideally, everybody's happy about it and everybody's excited to go to work. And that's really the best, when you show up and everybody's really excited about what are we going to do today, how are we going to do it, what can we make. But you also have to bring your ego with you, because if you're fortunate enough to have lived through certain things, those things we live through make their imprint on us. So we bring our experiences with us, and we have so much to offer from those experiences. But it's all, at the end, a collaboration, ideally. Excuse me. And I defer to the maestro who's creating the art. Yeah, really what it comes down to is opportunities. And if you can have those opportunities to make more explorations, for me at least.
It's funny because all these years of doing this and then being on sets and different things over the years, I've come to realize over time how separate that is from the end product and the experience the audience ends up getting of whatever's being promoted or sold or whatever. Yes. That there's it is a different church than the church of cinema and watching the movie that comes out. When you go to work and you have that place, and there's a certain, there's certainly a fear, I think, of filmmakers of having people come invade it, and certainly journalists and camera crews and whatever, watching them do what they do, because somehow it's that separation. It's like that's one planet, and then there's the planet that receives the package and then interprets the package moving forward. But that thing there, that workplace seems to be have a certain sacred difference to it that people, I think, have almost no idea, unless you're doing it, exists.
And that's great. I remember hearing an anecdote about Sir John Gielgud. I'm not sure if it was him informing another actor or him doing this, but early on, maybe it was in his life, of being excited to read a new play. He was on the bus going home or something like that, and whether it was him telling a younger actor or it was him sort of opening up a play, someone came over, saw him opening it up, starting to read a play, and they said, "No, you shouldn't read it in public." But there's something quite. Don't read it out here. It's. There is a separation, I guess, is what I'm saying. There's the laboratory to create something, and then there's the revealing of it when all that work is done. And I guess it's sort of like seeing behind the curtain in some ways. You want to provide a story on your own terms and show it the way you wish to show it. And there's enough sort of inner doubts and criticism among the creators of whatever the story is going on as well. I guess there's often a fear that whether something will, something will be revealed and something will be spoiled in the process, and you don't want that to happen because you want people to come in not knowing as much about it as possible.
Yeah. Well, that's the great irony of selling art, is that particularly film art and television, whatever.
So you have to tell them about it.
You have to tell them too much.